In 2013, a single contractor walked out of the most powerful surveillance agency on Earth with its deepest secrets, triggering the biggest intelligence leak in modern history. Edward Snowden changed the internet forever. Governments branded him a traitor. Millions hailed him a hero. But the real answer hinges on something most people still don't fully understand: what those secrets actually revealed, and how one man had access to all of it. Edward Joseph Snowden's path to the inner workings of American intelligence began with a series of career pivots. In 2006, he enlisted in the Army Reserve, but left after 5 months without completing basic training. Shifting to technical work, the Central Intelligence Agency hired him that same year as a computer systems specialist. By 2007, the CIA stationed him in Geneva under diplomatic cover to manage network security. When Snowden resigned from the CIA in 2009, his high-level credentials did not expire. Instead, they moved with him into the private sector. He spent the next 4 years working for corporate contractors, first Dell and later Booz Allen Hamilton. This private-public pipeline allowed Snowden's top-secret security clearance to transfer directly between employers. By early 2013, Booz Allen assigned him as an infrastructure analyst to an NSA facility in Hawaii, focusing on regional intelligence in China and North Korea. Despite his junior rank, Snowden's role as a systems administrator granted him broad administrative privileges. He held the digital keys to highly restricted networks, bridging the gap between a private contractor and the state's classified systems. The systems Snowden accessed in Hawaii formed a layered architecture of domestic and international intelligence gathering. At its core stood 2 primary methods of data collection under Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Amendments Act. PRISM, a downstream method, allowed the government to obtain stored communications, including emails, photos, and documents, directly from the servers of major U.S. internet providers, though officials disputed whether this constituted direct server access. In contrast, upstream collection intercepted data while it was moving, tapping directly into the fiber optic cables and network infrastructure of telecommunications carriers. This method relied on corporate partnerships under code names like Blarney and Fairview. The raw data fed into XKeyscore, an analytical platform, rather than a separate collection program. It acted as a global search engine, allowing analysts to query vast pools of raw internet traffic, emails, and chats in near real time. Here, the critical distinction was that collecting data was not the same as querying it. This foreign intelligence targeting operated under Section 702, which aimed at non-US persons abroad, but resulted in the incidental collection of Americans' communications. For domestic surveillance, Section 215 of the Patriot Act authorized bulk telephone metadata collection, tracking call records, times, and durations without intercepting the audio itself. The Secret Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court provided oversight, but it reviewed general targeting and minimization procedures rather than individual searches. Programs like Muscular and the British Tempora system linked this apparatus to a global intelligence sharing network. To defenders, these tools provided a powerful foreign intelligence capability to prevent attacks. To critics, the scale, secrecy, and incidental collection created an unprecedented dragnet. On January 6, 2013, an anonymous contact using the alias Citizen4 sent an encrypted email to journalist Glenn Greenwald, offering classified intelligence files. Greenwald did not immediately establish secure communications, leading the source to reach out to documentary filmmaker Laura Poitras. Following 5 months of secure exchanges, Edward Snowden quietly slipped away from Hawaii on May 20th, arriving at the Mira Hotel in Hong Kong. On June 5th, Greenwald and Poitras met Snowden in the hotel lobby, recognizing him by his prearranged signal, a Rubik's Cube. In his room, they took strict operational precautions, placing phones in refrigerators, covering webcams, and working on air-gapped computers entirely disconnected from the network. The journalist tested his credibility, asking him to explain the inner technical workings of systems like XKeyscore. Snowden stated he wanted to expose programs that violated basic privacy rights, insisting the public had to know what was being done in its name. Conversely, a later House Intelligence Committee report characterized him as a junior contractor who bypassed internal channels to leak files for personal reasons. On June 6th, Poitras recorded their first on-camera interview. 3 days later, on June 9th, The Guardian published its first story, exposing the bulk collection of domestic telephone records. The disclosures expanded quickly. The Washington Post, the New York Times, and other major outlets published details on programs like PRISM and X-Keyscore. In Europe, governments scrutinized their own intelligence partnerships. In Germany, politicians invoked memories of the Stasi to criticize the surveillance. In London, state pressure mounted. GCHQ demanded that The Guardian destroy its hard drives containing the leaked files. On July 20th, 2013, newspaper staff used angle grinders to pulverize the hardware under the supervision of government technicians. The Obama administration went on the offensive. President Obama labeled the leaks reckless, while Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, called them the most massive and damaging theft of intelligence in American history, arguing they endangered sources. Privacy advocates countered that extreme secrecy blocked democratic scrutiny. On June 21st, federal prosecutors unsealed a criminal complaint, charging Snowden with theft of government property and 2 Espionage Act offenses. Though these charges were allegations rather than a finding of guilt, they transformed the former contractor into a federal fugitive. On June 23, 2013, Snowden boarded Aeroflot flight SU-213 out of Hong Kong. Local authorities had declined the U.S. request for his arrest, citing insufficient legal details. But mid-flight, the State Department revoked his passport. When the aircraft touched down at Moscow's Sheremetyevo Airport, Snowden was stranded. He spent the next 39 days confined to the International Transit Zone, living inside a capsule hotel in diplomatic purgatory. WikiLeaks advisor Sarah Harrison coordinated his asylum requests, submitting applications to over 20 nations. While Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Bolivia offered safe haven, Russia granted him temporary asylum on August 1, 2013, with Vladimir Putin labeling him a political refugee. This temporary refuge evolved into permanent residency and, in September 2022, Russian citizenship. Now married to Lindsay Mills and raising 2 children, Snowden maintains a remote public presence from an exile that raised fundamental questions about what had actually changed. Silicon Valley quickly responded to the public fallout. Major technology companies accelerated the rollout of default encryption and began publishing regular transparency reports detailing government requests for user data. Privacy ceased to be a niche technical topic, growing into a central issue in mainstream politics and product marketing. By 2016, network analysts estimated that more than half of all global internet traffic was protected by encryption. Yet technical security did not resolve public anxiety. A 2020 Pew Research study found that 79% of Americans felt they had little or no control over their personal data. In January 2014, the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board concluded that the Section 215 telephone record program lacked a valid legal basis and offered minimal counterterrorism value. Evaluating both effectiveness and legality reframed the debate. That same month, Presidential Policy Directive 28 instructed greater consideration for non-U.S. persons' privacy. Statutory change followed with the USA Freedom Act of 2015. After November 29, 2015, routine government-held bulk domestic telephone metadata collection under Section 215 ended. Records remained with providers, queried only via specific selection terms, while special advocates and transparency mechanisms joined the FISA court. Internationally, the 2015 Schrems decision invalidated the safe harbor framework between the EU and the US over US intelligence data access. In contrast, the United Kingdom's Investigatory Powers Act, 2016, codified extensive surveillance powers alongside formal oversight. Ultimately, reform was selective. While bulk metadata collection ceased, core authorities like PRISM and Section 702 continued without interruption. Today, the global surveillance apparatus still operates, while Snowden remains in exile. We are left to navigate an unresolved digital frontier where safety demands state oversight, but liberty demands absolute privacy. Was he a heroic protector or a dangerous traitor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.